this document, because
Okay.
these are your standards, right? And your standards and your TEKS are what the test makers use to create their exam. There's nothing
Okay.
extra. There's no other, there's not a textbook. There's nothing, they get them from your standards document and the TEKS. That's it. So your standards and the TEKS, they become the competencies in the manual in each of the domains. So they like rearrange the standards and corresponding TEKS in these different domains, and within them they have these different competencies. So let's take a look at this one, because I'm going to want for you to, and as a 7th grade, I taught ELAR 7 through 12, but I was certified ELAR 4 through 8, and then also 7 through 12, but I only ever taught 7 through 12. Because I never wanted to do elementary because I have 5 kids of my own. And so I wanted them to be already a little bit more mature. And I wanted to delve into like more of the, nitty gritty, darker topics. And so that's why I chose this grade level. But what I'm going to ask you to do with this document is something that you will have your students do with many of their documents. Now, they won't be as lengthy. Fortunately for your students, it might be with like, you gave them the short story of a telltale heart and they're doing an annotation, right? So they're highlighting words and phrases that they don't understand, making connections, identifying dark language, identifying other literary elements and really annotating the text and engaging with it. And there's something neurologically that happens with learning, when you are reading something and you are also being kinesthetic or tactile. So by going through each of these, and I'm going to say everywhere there's a break, and we call it chunking the text. So if it's a short story, the different chunks, we would say, okay, I want for you to, after you read that, sort of paraphrase, like what's a summary of what you just read. That is an exercise in metacognition. You're saying, do I understand this? And if I do, I can paraphrase it in my own words. So that activity solidifies knowledge in a way that simply reading just doesn't. So I'd like for you to print this out, and you're going to annotate your text and highlight, put in your own words, and then also while you're because I'm going to ask that you rewatch the videos, or at least some of the videos, the ones that you can stand, the ones with nobody talking.
It was just that one.
And actually mark the text, right? Examples, and then complete the rest of the deep dive, the rest of the annotation, because not all of the standards are explored in this equal detail in the videos. So some of them you will have to do a deep dive and analysis yourself. That means you'll read it critically and identify any keywords and phrases that you don't understand, and then search those out. And a lot of times, I'm telling you, the best, I'll show you in just a little bit, but so actually I'll just show you right now. The best place to look for examples, especially for ELAR, let's say you're doing, here's this one, it's digraphs. You don't really have to do digraphs because that's early ELAR and science of teaching reading, but literally anything. If you wanted to do characterization, anchor chart, we'll just go with the anchor chart. So when you go through the standards deeply, investigating and researching things that are unfamiliar to you, and I would say that anything that you couldn't explain to someone yourself or paraphrase or give examples needs further exploration. So with your TEKS, you will certainly find things like, oh, I need to look a little bit further with this. And so it tells you the overarching goal for English language arts. as a content area that the state has. This is law. This is law. And the other document that we were looking at is also law. Voted into law, adopted in 2017. And it states the goal of the English language arts program. And each of those grade levels in ELAR, they vertically align so that we're building on knowledge and skills through 12th grade. So in the 7th grade, you might see something like respond orally or in writing with appropriate register, vocabulary, tone, and voice. So student identifying the appropriate audience, right? And then choosing the appropriate vocabulary for that audience, the appropriate tone for that audience, the appropriate voice. And so those might be things like maybe one of those you don't understand or aren't familiar with, then you would look it up. And any of these that that call for skills, analyze how the author's use of language contributes to mood, voice, and tone. Great examples of mood, voice, and tone. Mood. Let me just say words. There's a tone word list. As you go through these, make notes on your standards document as you go through the TEKS and as you go through the standards themselves. I'm trying to look for where that other document is. So identify the use of literary devices, including subjective and objective point of view. So any of these that you don't know, what they are. Objective point of view anchor chart, because of course they have it. So if it's there, I guarantee you an English teacher has made a beautiful anchor chart and she's uploaded so nicely up to Pinterest. So if any of them in your reading of, because you're going to have to do a deep dive of your standards, which is that document we were looking at, and also of your TEKS. So you can do your TEKS deep dive on the back of one of your standard documents if you print it out, or just get like a note card. And I want for each grade level, so in 7th grade, the goals are going to be consistent throughout. In 7th grade, 8th grade, we want the same thing for the students. One moment, Mama. We want, it'll say, so English, language arts, and reading TEKS embody the interconnected nature of listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and thinking through 7 integrated strands. Those are going to be consistent throughout, of developing and sustaining foundational language skills. These are them: comprehension, response, multiple genres, author's purpose and craft, composition, and inquiry and research. The strands focus on academic oracy, the ability to speak. Their oral language proficiency is so important. So in each one of those strands, I need you to do activities that has them talk. Oh, you just answered a question to me. Now turn to your partner and think, pair, share. Trade ideas. Think, pair, share is an amazing activity because it's like sort of zero risk. The student isn't like getting a grade for that activity, but also they're practicing utilizing that language. And if you made them write content specific language, their answer should have that in the response. And they also get to negotiate meaning with their partner. Let's say that I got the tone wrong and identified it as somber. And my partner we did the same poem, and she says, well, actually, look, the words it said like gleeful and another word, and then it had that yellow color and the word daisies. And that kind of makes me think, so having them talk it out, they can negotiate meaning, and that student that was possibly incorrect can self-assess, change, and then you can go back, and after you've given a little bit to talk, go back to a whole group discussion and say, okay, now Can somebody tell me, or call on someone in particular? Now the students are going to be more prepared to respond to these carefully crafted questions, and more eager. And then even the ones that aren't, they got a little bit of an upgrade with their answer, with their pairing, and everybody's practicing oral language proficiency. So in all of the strands, we need to be practicing listening, speaking, reading, writing, and thinking. In all of those, listening and speaking are part of our oral language proficiency. So what is it? We're gonna go get stuff from the store in 16 minutes, ma'am. Okay. Love you. So I like to get those big note cards. I'm gonna see if I can find them when I go to the store so I can show them as an example, and do like 7th grade ELAR and write the different strands and then the different things that they have to be able to do. You want to make sure that you define anything that you can't define yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like if you cannot come up with a paraphrasing definition, you should look that up, and write it down, because these things in the TEKS are the things required by law for the student to get to know, to learn in this grade, and the skills that they need in order to be masterful or to meet the expectations of leaving this grade. So we must know, if it's stated in the TEKS, we must have the knowledge that they need to have, right? And we must be able to do the skill as well. Do the skill so that we can model the skill for them and instruct, which is why our writing has to be so on par. The writing portion of it is so difficult, and they grade it sort of very hard, because you will have and teach students, or could on this content certification at the 12th grade AP level. And so your writing and your literary analysis skills should be on par with 12th grade students, with 12th grade AP students. So in my videos, we go over some of those AP essays to look at the language that they use when speaking about these literary devices, when talking about tone. You don't just say it's the words the authors use. You want to say the diction, because diction is the literary device, right? It's the author's particular word choice in order to produce some sort of effect for us. And so when talking about tone, always identify diction, which is word choice. Watching those videos while you have your standards in front of you, following along and doing a deep dive of the TEKS will make you pass the exam. You'll get it next time. Do you have can you email me your scores if you haven't already? So I can take a look at them.
Let me see if I have I have my other laptop open, but it's a little bit slower than usual. Let me see if I can get it here.
So create mental images of students to deepen their understanding. So I could read them a short story and have them close their eyes and imagine the setting where it took place based on what I read, and have them draw it out. I could assess them just by looking at their drawings if they were able to create a mental image based on their listening skills.
Okay, there. I just sent it.
Yay. Okay, excellent. So I'm going to take a look at that. I'd like for you, I'm going to have them open your exam. Or wait a minute.
No.
Yeah, not yet.
No.
Because you need to turn your paperwork back. But I would like to after you do at least a couple of grade levels, meet back again to clarify any of your questions. Like I said, I taught this particular grade level for like 16 years. And then I would like to go into the writing portion. The writing portion, we need like the whole 30 minutes in it of itself.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do a needs assessment. And this is something you'll do with your students all the time. I'm going to look at your scores. You get test scores in the 7th grade, you'll get 6th grade test scores. It'll be their star. You will be able to, based on their performance there, más o menos decide what
Get an idea.
Yeah. What do I need to get at? So, instead of spinning our wheels for the remainder of the time, I'm going to take a look at your scores and come up with like a plan of action for next time. But I'd like for you to schedule with me sometime next week. Just use that, use the same Calendly link, and it's going to be with the same Zoom link. And so you can just always use that. And don't forget that I'm available every Thursday and Tuesday from 9 to 11 using this same link. So if you have time during those hours and you want to like go over something or ask for clarification, I'm certainly available.
Okay. Thursdays and Tuesdays, 9 to 11, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. Yeah, because I haven't registered, or I haven't even thought about registering for another test. I was like, no. I bombed the first time. I want